Right then, so, I mean, I haven't, I don't really know how this format works, but this is the regional qualifier. It says on 1.16, so I presume this was after T1 lost to DK, maybe? So first ban Renekton, again, they just love this Renekton pick. I'm curious to see how much priority is going to be on Renekton after these nerfs as soon as pro play starts again. Well, Worlds. Rise ban, okay, good, so they don't B1 it. Camille, although, I mean, maybe you should have left it a little bit longer. They shouldn't have really banned it in that first slot, they should have banned it in the third, just in case T1 ban it. T1 actually banned the LeBlanc away. But there's no Lee Sin ban here, no Lee Sin ban, no Viego. So I think whichever gets banned here, the opposite gets chosen. So I think HLE should trade instead. They should not ban either. And then just trade it. Or Zin could also be a pick that is taking it. So Viego banned, so maybe they pick Lee, yeah, here. And then Hammer Life go with the Zin. Maybe. Because at least, well, the thing is I don't really know Hammer Life roster much. I know Chovy and Def, don't get me wrong. I don't really know the other three. So I don't know if they play Zin. But Zin, Aphelios is also open, so they could just Aphelios Thresh. They're going to take the Azir away from Faker, which is good. I mean, we get to see Chovy's Azir, so that's something. Varus, okay, they don't want to give any draft resources over yet. So they're just taking Varus. So it's kind of like a filler. ADC doesn't matter as much. On this side, they could just Aphelios Thresh, to be honest. Gummy UC plays Aphelios to a high level, and it's not banned, so I think that's what I'd probably go for. Or they might just look to take Braun this early. That wouldn't make sense. The Kennen would make sense. Although, I mean, you should save this till a bit later unless they want to counter mid here as well. So maybe here they'll just counter the Azir pick. Maybe we see the Corki come out. Or, I mean, do a Showmaker, pull out the Kassadin. I mean, it's not going to happen, but they'll probably just take something like Ashe here, to be honest, and not really give too much away. TF is also a pretty good option. Oh, he did actually do it. He did lock in the Kassadin. We did predict that. That's pretty crazy. Okay, so it's getting spicy. So the Kassadin into Azir is picking up a lot of heat. So as I explained in the previous video, the kind of advantage of casting into Azir is the same kind of playstyle as the Corki. Azir just wants to push you in permanently. Kassadin is completely fine with being pushed in permanently because he just wants to farm up and get to, well, level 11, level 16. So it's actually a pretty interesting pick. They did pick the Na. Obviously, that's just so they've got something that can potentially fight into the Kennen. We see the Leona ban. We see the Calista ban. Maybe we see the Braun ban come from T1 now, purely because Hammer Life have R4. So maybe they ban away the Braun in this slot. I think that's the best option. Otherwise, they give it over, which just isn't worth, to be honest. Okay, yeah, there we go. Braun ban, perfect. Nice drafting from T1. I am really liking T1 drafts up to this point. Okay, and there we go, the Aphelios. Now we see the Thresh. Okay, so they left it till very, very late, but they actually managed to get it, which I am surprised about, considering Aphelios has been such high priority. Oh, I did look away for a second to do the spreadsheet, but they did actually take the Xin Zhao, which you love to see it. Xin Zhao on this patch is incredibly powerful. Now, in terms of the comp, I mean, the problem I see here with T1's comp is that the Lee Sin is required to do so much in this game. Like, because they have double poke bot lane, and Varus is, you know, kind of good into Aphelios as well. At a certain point, especially once he gets his Dirk. But Aphelios is this kind of massive lane bully, so the team fighting potential that comes out of Aphelios means the bot lane matchup doesn't really matter as much. That's why the Thresh is there to kind of carry the lane. Now, on the flip side of that, we also have a mid that's going to be permanently pushed in. So the only real option Warner has in this game is to try and punish this Nara as much as possible. And, you know, be careful of the fact that Chovy can potentially TP to help. Now, I think if T1 get to 30 minutes, then they hard win this game. But I think Hanwha Life have all of the tools to win early. Now, unfortunately, Nara top, I mean, I don't think it holds as much impact as Kennen. I think Kennen is a much better pick. So as long as bot lane don't really int this game and allow Lee Sin to kind of relieve pressure off mid and top, I think T1 are in the better position here. Now, of course, we will see how hard Chovy can carry this game. But, I mean, Deft is also very, very good too. So, we'll see what happens. This is, I mean, they're pretty solid drafts both ways, to be fair. So, we'll see. Alright, so game 1, so T1 versus Hanwha Life Esports. So I don't know how many games this one is, to be honest. So now Xin Zhao, Azir, Varus, and Karma. Kennen. Okay, so let's concentrate my game. So Gummy UC spots out the invade. Not really going to equate to anything there, which, you know, is pretty good from the side of, for the side of T1, should I say. They are going to keep kind of pushing in here, though, which I don't think is too amazing. I mean, they're going for this kind of blatant... Ah, no, they were just going for the ward. But Lee Sin is starting on his chickens, I think, because he's solo starting, so... I think he's probably going to go chickens, then maybe pull the red buff into a position where they can't actually see him do it. Where's my pen? Where is my pen? I literally can't find it. I know. Oh, it's here. My bad. There we go. So, yeah, in that... Oh, okay, so pen is deciding it wants to crash, so... So, Faker getting this chicken wars down. Chovy is there instantly to respond to it, though. And a nice bit of poke going to the side of Chovy. I mean, this is always going to happen, but I actually really like this. So, he's not choosing to just hard push in. He's playing kind of like a more aggressive playstyle in the lane, where he knows if he pushes this in, this is where Caston wants the wave. So, he's actually not pushing too hard, which is pretty good to see, to be honest. Bot lane, again, this is really bad for the side of Hanwha Life, because now what T1 can do is they can set up a slow push going in here, and then when Lee Sin comes back down in order to take his bottom side camps, they can potentially dive or force something. So they do know that Lee Sin is currently clearing, so they are being a bit aggressive, but, I mean, this is still pretty good overall. Now, see, this is the problem, though. Hanwha Life have crashed on second wave, so they can't reset, and they just have to stay and play this lane out. Now, the problem is if T1 go a little bit aggressive here, then they can actually get this slow push going, which will obviously allow Lee Sin to potentially gank. He is going for a full clear, though, which is fine. I mean, if you don't full clear on Lee Sin, you have to be confident that you'll get something early, but they replace that ward there. I don't think Lee Sin knows that that ward is there, though, or the chicken ward, actually. And this is where Xin Zhao kind of comes in, because he can just kind of walk up now and do what he wants, because there's no priority in mid lane for the Kassadins. So Lee Sin has to play his early jungle very, very defensively, which is not really something you usually want to go with on Lee Sin. You really want to be as aggressive as possible. Now, in this kind of game, the responsibility of Lee Sin isn't to hard win the early game, go 10-0. The responsibility of him is to kind of be like a kind of like a bridge from early game into mid to late game. So his early game power is basically there to get pressure and allow his team to get to the points where they will be strong, like Aphelios on his shield bow. With shield bow wits end, very very valuable this game. Varus does magic damage, Azir does magic damage, Karma does magic damage. So we do get a dive on top lane though, and Lee Sin just ruins him. He doesn't get hit by the turret either. He does have to use his flash for it, but completely worth for that first blood on top lane. And like I previously said when we were actually analysing the draft, this is kind of what Lee Sin has to play towards this game, because he doesn't really have any other kind of lane that is going to be heavily gankable early into the game. Like Aphelios has Thresh to keep him safe, and so they're never really going to die in bot lane as long as they don't completely grief the game. Kassadin is going to be permanently pushed in. Obviously we can see Chovy has a considerable CS lead. 17 CS advantage at 4 minutes, which is crazy. Like, that's insane. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Faker is having a very rough time farming, which obviously due to the fact that Azir can actually harass him under his tower due to his soldiers being ranged and him being able to move them also. Okay, so they're going to reset here. Aphelios is probably just going to reset and get his Vampiric. That's going to give him a lot more kind of room to breathe in the laning phase, since right now he has to struggle with the fact that obviously Karma is very heavy in terms of an aggressor in this laning phase. So now he actually has lifesteal and this double longsword. He's going to be able to at least survive a bit more in lane, because every time that wave gets pushed in, he can just heal off it under the tower. So from the side of the Varaso, he does have his serrated Dirk, which means he is going to be a bit more of a lane bully now. Lethality build, I mean, yeah, he needs to go lethality. Actually, no, I actually think Varus going lethality here was a little bit of a mistake, purely because he needs the value out of like Shieldball Wit's End would be amazing for him this game, because obviously they have a double AP solo lane comp in the case of Kennen and Kassadin. So I actually think going for Shieldball Wit's End this game may have actually been more beneficial for the Varus, but he's going into, he'll probably get Dustblade. Every pro seems to get Dustblade and Mana Moon, so we'll see. Now Xin Zhao could easily start this dragon here, but I feel like he's not going to. Again, we've previously discussed the risks of starting dragon early multiple times in these kind of review videos, in the fact that you can't really start dragons as easy anymore, purely because of that smite differential. It just means that it's a little harder to do, but they do spot where the Lee Sin is, so he does get that. But as we can see, Lee, again, he's in this top lane, potentially looking to do something. He takes those Krugs away, which is quite beneficial, but again, he's got nowhere else that he can really play around. So we do see Lee Sin moving up now. Lee Sin didn't manage to get his red buff, which, you know, is completely fine. But we can see now Lee just getting his camps, and then he's probably just going to look to maybe even just reset off this. Xin Zhao is farming a lot heavier, but Xin Zhao has complete control over the map due to the Azir pick, and this is why Azir is just so bonkers. Like, this champion is so unbelievably strong. But there's not really that much of a lead in terms of gold. So I'm just gonna okay. So pretty standard. I mean, you know, Zed does have a CS lead, but I feel like he hasn't really done enough with the kind of lane matchup, to be honest. We haven't really seen any roams come in, and he uses TP to get back into mid lane, so both TP's gone out of mid, so we're not really going to see any roaming for now, but Faker's happy in this situation. So Chovy is plus 30 CS at 8. Now obviously this is somewhat how the matchup goes, but still, it's still pretty impressive that he's managing to kind of force someone like Faker into such a huge CS lead. Now, for anybody that doesn't know or hasn't followed Faker for a while, back in the day, Faker used to be renowned for being the guy that would punish you for every single CS, the guy that would hard force fight with you as soon as he chunked you out due to just understanding minions more. So now, as the years are progressing, we're seeing more people slowly catch up. Now, this was also a very prominent thing that Forgiven did, is he would be able to get these huge CS leads in bot lane with the exact same kind of way, and unfortunately, because Forgiven had such a big break, he didn't really get the chance to kind of learn that. Now, this is terrible out of Morgan here, because what is he actually pushing this wave in for? There's no reason whatsoever, because now Cannon's just going to easily fan this wave up with no real problem whatsoever, whereas Morgan could have got a really good slow push there. So Morgan's wave management, super questionable in that situation. Like, he's never going to be able to... I mean, there is always the option that the cannon is just going to crash the wave in, but I think if you can build up a slow push with the Xin Zhao jungle, then, you know, they do have the potential to get a kill on the cannon. Which I do think is something that Xin should have been playing more so around this game, due to the fact that the only place that Lee Sin has to go is this top lane. So if you're Xin Zhao, you just want to be top constantly. Now, we do see it come out now, but it's a little bit later. We do see him just taking his Krug camp. I wonder if he's going to be here to play around this dive. I mean, he is. Hopefully he knows where the Lee Sin is, surely. But Lee Sin does have Herald as well, so he's just looking to get a good fight up here so that he can, you know, herald this tower. We do see him moving though. He's probably just going to go and take his Gromp and then try and influence mid. We do have Thresh with a really nice roam here, which again is going to give Aphelios some huge gold advantage. XP advantage, I mean, sorry. Oh, so we do see a fight come in here. Kennen is has to use his flash to get away. I mean, Lee Sin had already moved, so he's not going to be able to do anything here. Nara is 2 levels in advantage to him, so he just needs to go and take this crab now and potentially look to get something onto mid lane, especially now Faker has his level 6. He can actually 6 on top of Chovy, and then Lee Sin can W to him, and makes it almost impossible to miss your Q, so that's kind of what he should be aiming for at this point. Again, Warner does have some good early games sometimes. So see here, they drop the Herald, and now they're just gonna get the tower and pop one plate down, and then. So what they should have waited on is they should have actually waited and taken that first plate and then dropped the Herald. So all around pretty sloppy Herald usage there, considering now that turret's low. Now on the flip side, what they could potentially be doing is leaving that tower on a very low amount of HP on purpose, just so that it doesn't end the laning phase of the cannon. But now the tower is set up to just get one tap by Kennen whenever he really chooses to. Now the only problem behind this is, I feel like they should have popped the tower, and then the Kennen should have looked to move into bot lane there, and, you know, get that 5-man advantage on this dragon. Now the reason why this dragon is important is, again, I mean, because it's a cloud, it means it's going to be a good soul. Now it's going to be either ocean or mountain, but both of them souls are really good for both teams. So Def does flash forward to try and kind of get a kill, but holy, what was that? That Lee Sin Q. You do not expect something like this from a professional player in a game so important as this. But Faker now he's in kind of this position where he nearly gets a solo kill on Chovy, forces him to burn flash, and now he can literally just push this wave in, reset, and then he has this flash advantage over the Azir, which he is getting very, very close to his Everfrost as well, so very, very good. Unfortunately now, Hammer Life end up getting this dragon too. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be a mountain dragon, which is actually very, very good. Now, what T1 need to do now, especially now that Kassadin is level 11, is they need to try and get as much gold as they can in this period and then just focus getting all 4 of these mountain drakes. It's going to be a total of 24% bonus armor and magic resist, which is insane. That's huge. Everything that you buy resistances, you get a quarter of it almost additional. That's crazy. So if you get something that's 100 armor, that's now 124 armor, which, you know, that's a huge advantage. Like, a huge advantage. So, there's very clear win conditions for T1 now. They've braved the early game, and they're now into this kind of mid-game phase. And this is where kind of everybody's getting their mythic and starting to actually do something. Faker goes to farm side wave, that's completely fine. He actually manages to crash a whole wave into this tower, which, that's so substantial. That wave is basically XP lost for the side of Hammer Life, because they're like, the lane assignments are completely off. So, terrible. From the side of T1 though, definitely good lane assignments from them. Now, it's just a little bit unfortunate. Now, we do see Warner going for this Herald now. This is just so that he can break open mid lane with this one. They've got a side lane broken open already. They're going to use it to just break open this mid lane, and it's going to be much harder than for Varus to farm because there's way more kind of flank opportunities that they can do. Now, when you've got a champion like Kennen, looking for those flank opportunities is incredibly important because this champion really can do massive damage and can literally completely 1v5 a team fight if he gets a really good flank off. So getting rid of this first tower is important, and even though Herald is a little bit risky, I mean, he didn't really have that much in terms of camps in the bottom side of the jungle for him to lose. Carrier is actually protecting the chicken camp as well so that Xin Zhao doesn't take away those raptors. Now, Varus has rushed what? Varus has rushed Serpent's Fang. Actually, I actually think this is really good, because at this point of the game, this was 11.16, so Serpent's Fang gave 18 lethality for a 2300 gold item, I'm fairly certain. So that's a massive amount. That's legendary. That's one of the highest non-mythic amounts of lethality that any item can give. This is why it was nerfed to, I think, 12. So this is actually pretty interesting, purely because, you know, he's picked it up first item. Now, he is going to go into his Mana Moon now before he finishes his Dustblade, which means he is going to have 2 mythic spikes for haste. So if he can actually just play it safe until he gets both of them items, then they're actually in a really good position. And, you know, hasn't really been pressured too much. Amazing catch by Warner though, completely ruins him. Morgan does jump in and get the Gnarl, but it does get Zonya'd by Kennen, so he is going to die now. Faker's just going to run him down, yeah, so there's no way he doesn't die in that situation. So Faker's now incredibly strong. Now, Chovy does still have a 50 CS lead, but again, this is kind of just the nature of this matchup. Faker is still on 154 CS, but Chovy on 207 CS at 18 minutes. Like, this guy hasn't missed a single farm. Like, how crazy is that? I mean, obviously, again, he does have a quite simple lane, but to have 12 CS a minute in kind of this level of game is incredible. So, Warner does manage to steal the red buff away from Xin Zhao. So, at this point of the game now, Xin Zhao is very kind of... Since T1 have a team that can just kind of jump in, he isn't as good in this situation, considering he hasn't really snowballed the early. But Deft gets completely locked up here. We see the Gnar ult, but Kennen, with his ult on, uses the Zhonya's, and it just doesn't really do anything. Even if he didn't Zhonya's there, he still wouldn't have died. So really, really grief from the Gnar in this situation. But T1 do get an advantage from that. So at this point of the game, Aphelios is sitting on... Oh, okay, so I would have liked to see Aphelios get a wit's end here, to be honest, considering this Azir is so farm fed, it's crazy. So that's what I would have liked to see, but unfortunately not. So now Kennen is just looking to push this tower. He does TP into the mid lane, though. They are going to contest this dragon. Like previously mentioned, these mountain dragons are so important, and Kennen is coming around. The dragon is dropping down to 3k. Kennen needs to literally just go. He needs to go now. He has to get into this fight. Crazy. Aphelios manages to steal it, to be honest, like, which is insane, but oh man, that was so painful to see the Kennen struggle so hard. At least he misses another Q. What on earth is that? Faker is around the side. He can potentially look to go in here and potentially catch the Karma, or, you know, nah, since he is in mini form, he's not really going to be able to do that much. And this is kind of why I don't really like Nah as a champion, because in this kind of state, like, what is he ever going to do in that mini form? And you're taking the champion for a conditional interaction, which I just don't find too hot. Now they are looking to push this bot lane in right now and potentially look to dive. They're not going to be able to get a wave pushed in against an Azir, though. I don't think Azir is just going to instantly clear this from safety. So, you know, it's, I mean, it was nice. They got a few picks out of it. I think they got, oh, I think they only killed Gnar, actually. Oh no, Gnar and Xin, if I remember correctly. So here we see a replay of it. Now again, we see this Kennen in the back. He just needs to kind of, I mean, he's getting zoned out by the Gnar ultimate, don't get me wrong, but I shouldn't have gone that way. He should have just walked through the river and been safer. Now here we can see the carrier does get locked up there, but Aphelios with massive damage onto death means that Casting can just run him down and potentially kill him. Actually, I don't think he does. Thanks. But as we can see, the Gnar in the back, now his mega is gone. He just instantly dies. They do chase him down, but they can't really push the waves in hard enough to be able to actually dive them. They'd have to dive without minions, which really isn't too good, and never really want to go for that. It's way too risky. Still, huge gold lead for SKT, and also Gummy UC did manage to steal that dragon, which is very, very important, because, like I said, if they manage to get 4 mountains here, then their win condition is very, very clear, especially considering 4 mountains on a level 16 Kassadin is going to be pretty disgusting. He's already at level 14 now. Unfortunately, it will take quite a while. It's going to be around another 15 minutes before we see that mountain soul come in, but every single time they get one of these dragons, it's going to be more impactful. Now there is a lot of minions going to waste in top lane, but that is going to start slow pushing into the side of Hanwha Life, so Kassadin is going to go and clear it now. Again, he can get around the map very, very easy. Chovy though, 238 CS, more than 10 CS a minute. It's very, very impressive. I mean, Deft is close behind him as well at nearly 200, but Aphelios does have a lot more. I find it crazy how in these kind of games, like even in bad matchups like Kassadin, Faker still has almost 10 CS a minute, which is kind of insane. It just goes to show like how well he understands this matchup, and this is what I previously said as well. When it comes to kind of conventional mid laners, I feel like Faker is very, very good. Now he can pull out a rather cheesy pick here and there, like something like a Master Yi or maybe even the Tryndamere, but overall I think if he gets forced on something incredibly mechanically intensive that he hasn't played too much, then it does kind of get a little bit shaky. Like we saw that Aurelia game he played, it gets really, really shaky. I also feel like the first game Faker plays usually isn't his best game either, so I feel like he takes a little bit of warming up as well in these professional situations. Now Carrier just clearing wards away, manages to get that chicken ward away. Oh, unfortunately not, he doesn't manage to get that last hit on it. We do see Faker in the side lane right now. Now he is actually strong enough that I think he can just 1v1 Chovy here if he does walk up. The only kind of reason that he's not going for it right now is because they don't actually know where the Zin's out or the camera is. So I think if they were both revealed on the map, he'd actually look to just kill him. It's going to get a reset off though, and I don't know what he's actually going to go to in terms of lane assignment here. Kennen is bottom, maybe he just goes back up top or through mid. Well, through mid into top lane, I'd hope. So we have a 3,000 gold lead for this Kennen, and 1,000 for the Lee Sin and Aphelios as well. Now, this is one of the things that I say a lot of the time is these champions like Na and Renekton, they really, really don't do that much. And if you do kind of focus them a little bit early, like we saw in this game, they kind of just crumble. Now, again, we do see the Kennen pick up Oblivion Orb. I actually think that's okay, considering that... oh, okay. Unfortunate that that Thresh Hook didn't land. That would have been a guaranteed kill on the Karma, but now she is chunked out. Maybe Faker will look to flank her from behind, but he does get spotted out for a ward, which means he isn't allowed to. Now, this is one thing I like to see, is look at their positioning around this kind of fight. As soon as they know that Faker is in that bottom section of the map, they're instantly going up into the top half in order to get control of this Dragon Pit. Baron Pit, I mean. So Nat is at the back, but he's used his Mega Form now, which means he's not going to be able to actually use his ultimate. So he is a little bit weaker now. So if I'm T1, I'm looking for an engage here. They managed to get the Azir instant exhaust. The Aphelios ult misses, but the Azir will die to the Kassadin. Kennen goes huge with that ultimate, but Kassadin is just wreaking havoc on the backline right now. Faker is huge, and he's... oh, so he does stopwatch out. I think that was a little bit of a mistake, but... he does manage to... okay, so Gummy UC ends up getting that. Faker misclicks the ward for some reason. But he just needs to hop over this wall and keep chasing. Because the Varus is very, very low on mana. And he doesn't have ultimate available. So this will be an easy kill for Faker. Now, this is kind of the thing with Kassadin now. He's level 15 and he's incredibly powerful. So this Azir matchup really didn't do enough to slow him down. He's got Zhonya's now as well. And he's getting rather close to his Seraph's Embrace. Once he does get that and level 16, he's going to be almost unstoppable inside these team fights. And also, I don't think he used his first stopwatch. So we might also see him selling the Doran's Shield and getting a stopwatch. Now, one of the reasons this matchup works so well is because Doran's Shield is so unbelievably broken. The amount of regen you get off it, if you know how to juggle the timer on it, it can be super good. This was a great pick by Warner into the instant exhaust out of Keria. And then obviously, Canna just comes with a really, really nice cannon ult, while Faker just completely murders everybody. So I don't know why, but I keep getting hiccups whenever I start recording. I have no idea why. It's so annoying. Whenever I start recording. So Faker with a nice little pickup there. So at this point of the game, Kassadin is just way too big. Now, Aphelios is just itemizing pure AD at this point. He's got his Collector, and he's going into what will probably be an Infinity Edge next, since he will have that 60% crit in order to proc it. Now, we can see Chovy's got his Ludens and his Rabadons at this point, so honestly, he might be able to really, really turn this team fight around, to be honest, since he is very, very large. Now again, this is a pen item too, since it will give 5 magic penetration due to the Ludens mythic. So this is a very strong point for them, especially considering that Varus has his Dustblade and his Serpent's Fang here. Now I would have liked to see him go Mana Moon instead of getting this Dustblade here, but I can see why he's gone for it. But I really just don't like Dustblade anywhere near as much on the Varus as I do Prowler's Claw, even after the changes. Now Faker does have his Seraphs now, so he's just looking to finish up his stacks, and as soon as he does that, he's actually going to completely dominate this game. He is also level 16 now too, so he does have an extremely short cooldown on his ultimate. So he does have Resolve secondary, obviously, because he's into an Azir. So Hanwha just trying to get some vision control back inside their jungle right now. It is very, very hard for them to do, purely for the fact that, you know, T1 are so strong at this point. Even though the gold lead, I mean, the gold lead is 4k, don't get me wrong, it is quite substantial, but it's not going to matter due to the fact that T1 have scaling on their side, especially out of Aphelios, especially out of Kassadin. Canna is going to just completely one-shot Morgan here. He's on triple pen with Void Staff, so there's not really that much he can do. He's going to get in with a Q. Oh. Lovely from Morgan to walk inside the wave, but it isn't enough, unfortunately. He does walk inside the wave there so that Canna does get body blocked, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough, as his turret does go up in the mid lane so that they will have permanent pressure in this location now. The wave will never really manage to get past. They are going to just leave it. I don't think they're in a position to rush Baron, especially 50-50, but maybe that's the only option that they have left, is to rush Baron and then get a really, really good pick with the Azir ultimate. But Faker is just going to go clear away that top lane so they don't have Prior there. So if they do decide to go for this Baron, then Faker is just going to get this tier 2 in top lane for a nice 600 plus gold. Which, again, at this point, it's very, very hard to contest Faker in a side lane because he's just so strong at 3 items and level 16. He is just going to be able to just 1v1 anybody. Now, if you had something like a Camille here, then maybe she could do something, but Anar is not going to be able to contest Faker in a side lane when he's on Kassadin. So here we just see this fight play out. Canna is just way too strong right now. Morgan does use his flash, but obviously the movement speed that you get out of the E on Kennen is very, very big. And we do see him walk to the wave to get kind of minion block, but his E is just off cooldown straight away, so he gets that movement speed again. And Morgan is just way too behind to do anything. He does have his Sundra and Wit's End as well, but there's just not really much he can do. Now we see Varus has actually picked up his Muramana now, so he's going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage. Now unfortunately I just don't think it's going to be enough against this Kassadin, considering he is so far ahead right now. T1 again taking the third dragon. Like the game plan is just almost perfect in this game, to be honest. I mean, there has been a few mistakes, but this was an amazing pick as well. Chovy gets exhausted instantly after the Lee Sin kick. Unfortunately, does manage to use his flash to get out, but that is a lot of resources gone for the side of Chovy. Faker going nuts in the backline. There's nothing they can do. They're just going to rush onto the Baron now, to be honest. They've killed the Zinzal away, so there is no smite to actually contest him. Warner can heal up massively off his W, so I think it's called Iron Will. So that Iron will heal up him. That Iron will. That sounds weird to say. It will heal him massively. But they are just looking to continue a fight. I mean, Gumayusi does have plenty of lifesteal, so he is very, very strong right now. He's got a nice little shield too. Faker in the backline trying to be disruptive. The Gnar actually misses a lot entirely. A nice shift from the Azir, but it's not going to be enough. Faker does double stopwatch. We did mention that he was going to get that early on into the game. That's 5 seconds of invulnerability, and this is a very, very useful thing that you can do when you're playing a champion that's so far ahead like this. If you manage to get your Zhonya straight up and you don't use a stopwatch, you can literally instead just buy another stopwatch, and he's just going to instantly sell this now and get the slot back. But that's just avoided them getting a 550 gold bounty on him. So, again, it's very clear what they need to do, and I feel like Willa just didn't really understand T1's game plan here. So again, perfect game plan. They're going to get Baron here. They're going to use the Baron to start cracking open these inhibs. They're going to get all 3 of the towers that are defending those inhibs into the Mountain Soul, and then into just taking them all out. So, or maybe they just look to end with the Baron here. I mean, they are very, very strong, and there's no way Hanwha Life can really contest them, considering the difference in terms of the draft. So, again, we'll see. So here we can see Faker is just behind, just waiting for them to come in, instantly ults away, and then Gnar tries to ult him, but he does manage to just use his R because it's on such a low cooldown. The Azir does get a shift, but as we can see here, Faker's stopwatch gets HP back from a kill. Stopwatch straight again. And this is kind of what I mean. Like, that just saved his life so bad and saved his bounty. So now at this point, there's not really that much that Hanwha Life can do. They have to kill Faker, but they're not going to be able to, especially considering his Zhonya's will be on cooldown for the next fight too. So again, a very, very clean game from T1. Like, this is one of the cleanest games I've seen them play. Now, I do think Hammer Life are griefing slightly, and Chilvy is not able to carry them considering how far behind they've dropped, especially this top lane. But overall, so Faker, Verdant Barrier now, completely fine with that, to be honest. I mean, they do have Varus, Karma, Azir all doing magic damage. Azir is huge right now too, and you know, Faker's already got more than enough damage considering the low cooldown of his ult and the fact that every time he uses it does more damage. Obviously it uses more mana, but he's got Seraph's Embrace, so really isn't going to matter that much, especially when he's got blue buff too, so he's actually just looking to get as much damage as he can. He does manage to pop the shield that Azir got there from the Karma very, very easily, to be honest. So Karma's not even going to be shielding enough to kind of save them now. And as we said previously, they're just using this Baron to unlock all of these lanes and just end the game out. I would like to see somebody in this side lane, bot lane though. I'd like to see Kennen just leave and go and push this wave in, considering it's so close to the tower anyway. I mean, it's kind of unlucky. So this will be a really big thing because teams like Dam1 use Baron almost perfectly every single time. So the fact that they lost a lot of tempo here is pretty important. But again, they're just going to reset now. As they reset, they're going to come out 40-second time. And Lee Sin just going to clear away this top side, which is really nice to see. I think Wanna is incredibly good when he gets ahead. So Wanna, again, knows exactly what to do when he actually gets ahead in these situations, so... So, again, I mean, it's quite slow. They're just waiting for this dragon to come up so that they can take it for the... you know, the soul, but not just the soul, it's the 4th mark that they really care about. So I mean, the Thresh Lantern way too soon, to be honest, like, but there we go, the 4th dragon. So again, we've managed to read this game absolutely perfectly, but I think it was very, very smart drafting from SKT. They got exactly what they wanted, due to the fact that Hammer Life just didn't ban the right things. It was kind of grief from them. Karma almost gets picked off. Aphelios ult does go wide. That is quite important for these fights. I don't think it's going to matter too much considering they've got 6 super minions crashing into their base now. More even, there's 4 just in top lane due to the way that they've stacked the waves. So these super minions are actually going to kill the Xin Zhao on their own. About 300 damage per minion. The Azir ult does come out, which is nice, but he just instantly dies from another insect, which amazing from the Lee Sin. And there we go, they just finish them off and then they just take the base too. Okay, so I mean, incredibly convincing game from T1. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and I think they actually played their draft absolutely perfect in this game. So, really, really impressive. And yeah, let's move on to the second game then.